I'm your host, Rob Carbone. This is BD4.
Barrett, some shake and bake, hits a three. Tantalizing the crowd was Barrett. Oh, hang on to the roof. Goodbye. Anthony for three. That one goes down. Gotta put four fingers up when Torres comes to the plate. The ball. See ya.
So on top of a pathetic 2-game losing streak, I literally just recorded what was supposed to be this episode, but then accidentally deleted it when I was using hotkeys. You know, I kind of did the shortcut to end the recording on the keyboard, and I hit, I guess, the delete button, and now I have to record the episode all over again. Fortunately, it was only about 30 plus minutes, you know, and it wasn't like more towards an hour, or else I would have been really I would have really flipped out. I don't know what I just said there. But I hate that. I'm so pissed off. But yes, the New York Knicks, not necessarily playing great basketball as they were the last time. The last time we spoke. You know, they go out there, what was it, Friday night against the OKC Thunder. A rebuilding team, probably not going to make much noise. One of the few easier games the Knicks have had so far on their schedule. But they go out there and they lay an egg, right? Just a pretty poor effort, right? A pretty pathetic effort, let's be blunt. And the Knicks just don't do the job. They lose by a lot, and pretty much the same thing happened on Sunday night. And we were recording, you know, after Sunday night's game against Denver at MSG as well. 2 games where I think Madison Square Garden, excuse me, wouldn't have been very proud, right? Madison Square Garden, definitely, if there wasn't some, you know, virus and fans were allowed to go into the stands, this, you know, we would have heard the boo birds at MSG. But nonetheless, 2 losses that, you know, aren't very promising. You know, that leave us with a lot of question going forward. So we're going to get into all that. All right. We're going to get into that in a second. Let's head to break. Don't want to waste too much time because, again, I just wasted 35 minutes of my life recording an episode that I deleted accidentally. So let's just try to get this one in. Review these last couple of games and talk about what we need going forward, and that'll be that. So let's get to it, guys. Let's head to break, and we'll get right into things when we get back. Hey, fellows. So, really briefly, before we get back into things here, I just want to remind you that if you haven't yet subscribed to this podcast, to BD4, then you can go do that right now on my website. You can go to nysportstalkrc.wordpress.com/connect. Once again, in order to subscribe to this podcast, BD4, and if you want, follow me on social media and subscribe to the blog that I write, just go to my website. Go to nysportstalkrc.wordpress.com/connect. Guys, thank you so much, and let's get right back into it. So on Friday night, I think it was Friday, the Knicks go out there against OKC. Again, team that's probably not going to be very good this year. But they play down to their opponent. Often like we saw often last season. They lose scoring 89 points versus OKC's 101. Knicks shoot 36%, 33% from the three, and just 60% from the foul line. The Thunder, not much offense themselves, but when you're as bad as the Knicks are offensively, 44%, 32%, and 67% will get you by. The big thing, again, was just the lack of hustle defensively. The Knicks were minus 14 on the boards and just, lazy in the paint. So to recap real quick, the Knicks pretty much lacked offense until Randle got hot in the third. But again, the offense wasn't consistent. And on the other end, lacked inside D in the second half once Mitchell Robinson was mysteriously pulled late in the third period. But to start off at the top of the game, it was the Knicks go up by 11. I think quickly hits RJ for a layup, and they're up 11 points with 2:47 in the first quarter. You get to the second period, the Thunder bench make a run. Bunch of teenagers out there just out hustling the Knicks and just overachieving out there. Even veteran Al Horford, who's about 45 years old, he gets hot, and he ends up scoring 15 in the first half. All 15 of his points came in the first half. He scores 15 points. He's operating at the top of the key, hitting those mid-range jumpers on the baseline, and the Knicks bigs just can't really defend him. So the Thunder make their run, and once up 11, the Knicks now go into halftime tied at 42. Third quarter comes. Randle finally gets his first bucket of the game. Erases that 0. He gets it going in the third. Keeps the Knicks in it. Towards the end of the third period, that's when Mitch is pulled. He's first pulled for Noel, who we're going to get to Nerlens Noel in a bit. And then later we see them play small ball with Randle anchoring the 5. But as soon as that happened, as soon as Robinson was pulled, it's a 6-0 run for OKC. They go up by 9. This is near the end of the third. But fortunately, Austin Rivers continued to hit clutch shots, and Rivers kind of gets it going. Back-to-back field goals. One of them a clutch three-pointer to beat the buzzer in the third period. And then another brings out the Euro step to bring the Knicks within 4 with 11:28 at the top of the fourth. But again, with Mitch given 0 minutes for the remainder of the game. No fourth quarter minutes for Mitch. The Knicks just got killed in the paint. Just obliterated off dribble penetration. Noel, late fouling guys. He fouls Roby at the top of the period. He hits a couple of free throws. Diallo tips one in to follow that up, and the OKC goes on a run. They go up by 8 with under 10 minutes to go in the fourth. From there, the Knicks just can't get stops. Everything they do offensively is countered, and then some, by OKC. As a matter of fact, I went back and checked, and I saw that the Knicks did not string together 2 or more field goals in that fourth quarter. So every time the Knicks would score, OKC scored at least 1 field goal back. The Knicks were unable to string together 2 or more makes. So, and that just goes to show how poor they were defensively. OKC's guards, really good, really, really strong performances from Gilgeous Alexander. He goes for 18 of his 25 in the second half, killing Peyton off the bounce. Again, hopefully destroying that narrative that Peyton's a decent defender. No. Every time he sees a decent guard, he just has issues. Diallo getting into the paint, 11 points in the fourth, ends up with 23. And the Thunder scored 32 points in that fourth period. They scored a dozen of them in the paint, 6 field goals in the paint, and then they have 11 free throw attempts as well, just in the fourth quarter alone. So, again, Mitch's lack of interior presence without Mitch, a pretty poor decision in my respective opinion by Tom Thibodeau, not going with Mitch to close out the game. Very random, right? So it was difficult to watch. Have to see the small ball with Randle and have to see a useless Noel out there. And on the flip side, again, the offense by the Knicks was pretty poor. Starting to rear its ugly head lately. So, in particular, it was the Knicks guards. The backcourt was not pretty. You look at RJ, Alfred, Reggie, and Quickly. Those four guys combined to go 28%. Okay, and they shot 21% from the arc. So a very rough outing from the backcourt. So it was just a bad all-around game. If you want to look at the few, and I guess I'll quote this, positives from that game, you had Kevin Knox go 3 for 5 from the arc. You had Robinson lead the team with +6 in the box score. And then you had Randle, even on an off night, go 18, 12, 7 on 8 for 15. So that was your positive. But overall, not a night to remember. And neither was tonight, Sunday night. But as you're listening to this, it should be Monday night, game night, as we're facing the Hornets. But Sunday night, game 10, Knicks lose to the Nuggets, and things don't really look much better. So we're going to get into that. But let's hit the break one last time.
Hey fellows, so really briefly, before we get back into things here, I just want to remind you that if you haven't yet subscribed to this podcast, to BD4, then you can go do that right now on my website. You can go to nysportstalkrc.wordpress.com/connect.
All right, so we get to game 10. We get to Sunday night, tonight, as I am recording, yesterday as you were listening to this. And they face the Nuggets, who enter the game, up and down so far this season. But the Knicks can't figure it out. They lose with 89 points versus Denver's 114. Basically, I don't want to go quarters 1 to 4 with this one either. It was just a bad all-around game. Pretty much outside of Mitchell Robinson and Julius Randle, who's playing really good this year. Pretty much outside of those two, you have nothing from anybody else. Nothing. Mitch goes 11-5 with a block. Julius goes 29-10-5. And both of them combined to shoot 16 for 21, 76% for 40 points. Everybody else outside of those two guys, 16 for 53. 16 for 21 for Mitch and Julius. 16 for 53, everybody else. 76% versus 30%. 40 points versus 49 points, everybody else combined. Bad, very bad. Knicks shoot just 6 out of 21 from 3-point distance. That's 29%. Continue to get exposed there. Out hustled. Their largest lead was 3. Denver's largest was 30. They just couldn't defend the paint once again. Noel sucks. We'll get to him. He was taken out multiple times tonight just out of pure disgust from Tibbs. And on the flip side, not being able to score, struggling your way to 89 points versus a team that allows 112 points a night is not a good look. Denver ran the zone a couple of times to expose our lack of spacing and shooting and ball movement. Always get confused when teams throw the 2-3 at us, and here it was again. Nuggets on the flip side shoot very well themselves. 43% from distance, 15 for 35. Jokic, I thought Robinson played him pretty well for, considering it's Jokic and he's averaging a triple-double this year. Robinson held him, and I put that in quotes, held him to 22-10-5. Everybody else was under 15 points or less, but there were 6 double-figure scores. So it was a collective effort for Denver, as opposed to the Knicks, where it was just 2 men who chipped in. So, yeah, another bad game, all right? No need to really go quarter to quarter, I'm just tired of this whole starting lineup that we're kind of vomiting out there, right? Let's be real. It's not a good starting lineup. It doesn't excite you, and it's in particular, it's the backcourt. It is Elfrid Payton, and it is Reggie Bullock. And again, nothing against these two guys, and I got yelled at by some boomer on YouTube in some comment section because I said, Payton's a terrible point guard. And they gave me the typical response you'll hear from time to time. It's, he's an NBA player. He's not terrible. Obviously. Okay, yeah, I get it. He's an NBA player. I'm some fat Italian-American kid arguing from my couch. But, when you get past that, we know that. He's not, he's a poor NBA player. Okay, he's not an NBA point guard, right? Elfrid Payton, I'm talking about. He sucks. And I know. He had a couple of nice games, after his slow start. Cool. But if we're getting excited about Elfrid Payton going off with 17-7 as one of his better games, that's an issue, right? When you're getting excited that Elfrid Payton is going for 17 points, that's probably because he's not that good, right? So eventually, and he's looking like he's starting to, he's going to regress to his norm, which is 9 points on, 40% from the field and 20-something% from three. Eventually, he's going to regress to that, and it looks like he's starting to come back down to earth. It just tells you how pathetic of a starting point guard he is. Name me a point guard in 2021 who's successful and can't shoot the ball a lick. Go ahead. Name me a successful, winning NBA point guard who can't shoot the ball a lick. Payton sucks. He sucks for an NBA point guard. He can't shoot the ball, and the only one skill he does have, it doesn't seem like it's very productive. Right? His passing, his playmaking. He passes to one guy. We all know Randle's his buddy. He ignores RJ Barrett. If he does pass to someone like RJ or any other of the guys, it's in the final seconds of the shot clock, right? He'll dribble the ball around the court for 70% of the shot clock. He doesn't advance the ball. He plays at a slow pace. He's a half-court point guard who can't shoot. Not an overrated defender for those of you who think he's a decent defender. Not very good defensively. Especially guarding guys who are quicker and who can dribble. And that's a lot of point guards. Just not it. He's not it. And so I think hopefully when he starts to, not hopefully, but when he starts to regress, hopefully the very few who are on the Elfrid Payton boat start to see that. And he's starting to regress. I'm tired of seeing this guy. There's no excuse for Elfrid Payton to be launching 17 shots, 18 shots, 15 shots, 19 shots. He's on a span where he's doing something like that. No excuse. He's getting all this ball time, all these possessions, these shot attempts, and who is he? He's Elfrid Payton. You look at the analytics, you go on NBA.com, he's up there. Usage with Harden, Lillard, Kyrie, Tatum, guys like that. Obviously, the production's not the same, but the usage is, and that's the issue. Get him out of the lineup. He doesn't fit, with the guys we drafted, especially Barrett. And Bullock, not much better. Not much better with Bullock. But Payton's the one guy I want out as soon as we can. And I understand the whole, quick sanity has kind of died down, right? He's kind of lost his magic, Emmanuel. But I would still rather have a young point guard with upside who we just drafted because he can shoot the ball than watch some random, veteran placeholder who's already peaked at mediocrity. I mean, it's not chess, right? It's easy. It's common sense. Bullock's got to go too, though. Boy, does he got to go. He was brought here to shoot, and he's inconsistent outside as a shooter at best. Yeah, sure, he plays good defense, but that is not enough to justify giving him the starting nod at the 2 position. Burks has to hurry back. It sucks that he has to go through this whole thing that Obi did, 7+ days for reevaluation. But here we are. For now, I would still go with like Austin Rivers. Go Quickly and Rivers in your backcourt. Quickly, Rivers, Barrett, Randle, Robinson. That's fine. It's exciting. It's youthful. And you got your veteran who can shoot the ball. It could be a better product than what we're getting now. And honestly, that's not even the point. The point is it makes more sense. You know? Tonight, for example, tonight's a great example. You take Peyton, Bullock, and RJ. They combined for 90 minutes and 1 3-pointer. This is 2021. That is unacceptable. That's 60% of your starting lineup pretty much not shooting the ball. That's very bad. So something's got to go on there. We cannot be throwing those 2 out there in the backcourt to complement RJ, Randle, and Mitch. No. So now, speaking of RJ, having said all that, right? Peyton, Bullock, not much spacing to surround RJ, packed driving lanes, right? Turns RJ into the spot-up 3-baller who's launching 4 or 5 catch-and-shoot threes a game, which is not his game, right? He's supposed to be on the ball, bulldozing, yada yada. I get that. So having said that, RJ himself does have to start hitting shots, right? It's also on him. It is also on Barrett. Okay, so I'm not going to go yelling bust. I'm not going to go yell bench RJ, trade RJ. That's unrealistic. That's just, a typical angry Knicks fan being reactionary, right? We drafted him. He's here to stay until otherwise. We might as well play him. We might as well try to develop the kid. And, in order to do that, I think we should surround him with complementary pieces. Not Bullock, not Peyton. But, yes, I agree that he does absolutely have to start showing signs of consistency. Excuse me. It's because it's bad. Outside of the foul line, he has no jumper. No jumper. The mid-range, at times it looks promising, but it's inconsistent. And that 3-point shot, man, no. It's not existent. I mean, we're talking about Peyton not being a good 3 shooter. He's actually shooting at a respectable clip when you compare him to RJ, who's just non-existent from there. Low 20%. I don't think he has more than 1 3 outside of the 2 Indiana games. He has 1 3-pointer, maybe 2 total outside of the Pacers. I mean, it's bad. He is not a 3-point shooter. And again, yeah, play him with pieces who kind of complement his game and put, space the floor so he can do his work. But at the same time, a basketball player, a number 3 overall pick at that, has to start making shots, right? It just comes down to he's going to eventually have to start making shots. So, yes, the struggles do come at the hands of the product around him sometimes, but at some point, a basketball player, a number 3 overall pick, is going to have to start playing like one. He's going to have to start making shots, okay? So we can't totally rely on the Knicks just catering to him. He's going to have to help us out here. He's going to have to perform better, right? He's going to have to do it. The jump shooting is pathetic. Even his forte, getting to the rim and finishing, that's inconsistent at times. And again, the lack of spacing, the packed lanes, I get it. The paint being crowded, I understand it all. But he has to. He has to be able to do something himself because he's not much of a creator with the ball in his hands. Okay, he's not much of a shooter, so he's going to have to find ways to score consistently. I just want to see more from him. Is it the minutes? Hard to say, right? I don't really blame the minutes. It is early, and he was kind of like this last year too, getting normal minutes. So I don't want to go there yet, But Tom Thibodeau is somebody who's known to, quote, run his players into the ground. But that's just my quick take on RJ. I just, you know, as he keeps having these poor games, I'm starting to go from really high on him to more towards indifferent, right? He's got to start showing it a little bit. Backup center. Nerlens Noel is useless. You may as well stick my fat, lazy ass at the 5 position when Mitch is sitting. I mean, this guy, what does he do? What does he do? What does Nerlens Noel do? He drops every pass that is thrown to him. He's an automatic turnover when he's receiving a pass in P&R. He doesn't protect the rim. He had 1 point tonight. He averages 3 points on the season. What does Nerlens do? It's good that we got Taj Gibson back, I guess. Knicks fans, for some reason, really like him. But I don't think he's going to be that much of an upgrade. He's still pretty underwhelming at this point in his career as a rim protector. He doesn't really give you much offense either. Occasional pick and pop in the mid-range area maybe, but he's not athletic. You know? Honestly, for now, until Gibson is ready and goes through the COVID protocol, whatever he has to do, honestly, though, I wouldn't mind going small ball. As much as I kind of shit on it in the last blog I wrote when I recapped the OKC game, I honestly put Randle to 5 and surround him with shooters in the meantime. It's 2021. Small ball for now, I guess, you know, for stretches. But we also just need Obi Toppin back. We need Obi Toppin. Oh, it sucks to not have him out there. But we need some offense, man. No production at that position when Mitch is on the floor. And Mitch is going to have to start showing some offense as well. Let's be real. He's not even shooting the ball. You know, he's getting in these scenarios where we see him a couple times now a night outside the arc, wide open. You know, I mean, his man is in the paint often. And defenses aren't even getting out. And he's not taking it. So I think it's the Knicks restricting him. Let it fly, especially in blowouts like tonight, like on Friday. Let it fly a couple times. See what's up. Doesn't have to be threes either, man. Like I said, I would like for him to develop a post game, a hook shot, something inside the arc, something outside the arc, whatever. Just something different from rim running, you know, rudimentary rim running. Just you know, something aside from that, pick and roll throwdowns and tip ins. You know, something where he can create himself. You know, but yeah, our offense is it's pretty bad. You know, I understand defense has gotten us to this point where, you know, it's ahead of our offense, but it's 2021, right? In today's game, you do need offense, and the Knicks offense is bad. I think Kevin Knox needs more minutes. You know, if we're talking about needing more offense and needing more 3-point shooting, I think Kevin Knox, you know, listen, he entered the night shooting 42% from the floor. That's a career high, and 40% from 3-point distance, career high. He's playing good this season, but he's only getting, you know, you see him sometimes he's getting 12, 13, 14, 15 minutes a night on average. Why not give him 20, maybe 25 in games that he looks good? He's stretching the floor this year. That's a weapon on this team. So, all in all, guys, you know, it's listen, you look at the big picture here. We enter, listen, if you were entering the season, so if I told you a couple weeks ago that the Knicks would be 5-5 after 10 games, you'd be thrilled, right? So I'll take it. I know it's after being 5-3. Excuse me, right? It's a little bit different, but it's not the worst in the world. It was the OKC game that I really was upset with. Losing to the Nuggets like this sucks, you know, but they are a Western Conference, you know, powerhouse. They're a very good team. They got a very good player in Jokic. They have a good player in Murray. They're well coached. So, I just hope that we can bounce back. But we do have a back-to-back against Charlotte tomorrow night, or tonight as you're listening. Don't know much about them in terms of their win-loss or anything like that, where they are in the standings. But Obviously, they've got LaMelo Ball, and he just had a triple-double the other night. But that's it, guys. I just hope we can continue to compete. Are we going to continue to play 500 ball, hover around that mark? I hope, but I think at one point we might realize that we should remain focused on player development. And not to say we aren't. We are right now. We're kind of doing both, trying to contend and focus on PD. But eventually, by the deadline, we'll get a better look here. We'll kind of have a better understanding of where we are, right? If we get to the deadline and we're 7 games, 8 games, 9 games under 500, and it doesn't look like we're going to make the bottom seed, then maybe you start selling, right? Maybe you trade Randle for that first rounder. Maybe you trade Burks for a first rounder. You make some moves, right? And you kind of continue to build by collecting assets and picks. But right now, you hope that we can continue to compete while we're focusing on developing RJ, Mitch. I just want to see a little more from RJ. I just want to see a little more from Tibbs, trying to put more effort into getting the best out of RJ and Mitch. I want to see him play Knox more. I want to see when Frank is healthy, get some minutes over guys like Bullock, guys like Peyton. That's when I want to see change eventually. We cannot have those two in there. But for now, man, we've got Quickly out here. I know he's slowed down a bit, kind of looks lost. But he's not really getting big minutes. I would still play him. I would still play the young point guard with upside. You just drafted him, and you drafted him because he can shoot the ball. You know that. Play him. Right away, he modernizes that position. Rivers is playing really well. He's the spark plug. Play him over Bullock. Bullock has given you nothing. Playing defense only doesn't justify it. I know it's going to weaken your bench, but man, we need this starting lineup to improve. It's so bad. We need to focus on the starting lineup. That's what starts these games out, and getting off to a good start is so crucial. Cliche? Sure, but it's true. So, that's pretty much it, guys. I don't want to ramble on too long. That's it for this episode. Episode 202, Knicks fall to OKC in Denver. This is your host, RJ Carbone. But before we wrap this episode up of BD4, let's get to the NYK question of the day. All right, so in episode 201, last time out, I asked you guys the question. I asked you guys, in 1996-1997, who did the Knicks sweep in the first round of the playoffs? All right, so in episode 201, I asked you, in 1996-1997, who did the Knicks sweep in the first round? The answer to that question, funnily enough, it's the Charlotte Hornets who were facing next. They swept them, and I think it was a 3-game sweep at the time. It was a 5-game series. So that was the answer to 201. The Charlotte Hornets were who the Knicks swept. But this episode's NYK question of the day for episode 202, brought to you by Anchor. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm and listen to the podcast, or make your own podcast. Our question for this episode, our NYK question of the day. Starting in 1950, the Knicks made the same round of the postseason for the next 3 years, but kept losing. Which round was that? All right, starting in 1950, the Knicks made the same round every postseason for 3 years. Which specific round was it? All right, so message me or comment the answer once I publish the podcast. You can do this on Facebook, Instagram, or communist Twitter. I just said it. Anywho, no, but really, thank you guys so much for stopping by. I appreciate anybody who listens, all two of you. So subscribe to the podcast if you haven't yet. Go to my website for that. Go to nysportstalkrc.wordpress.com. It is on the screen if you're watching. If you're listening to it, well, you just heard it, nysportstalkrc.wordpress.com. You can subscribe to the podcast on my website. We are on so many feeds. Just go to my website. It'll take you to all that information. You can follow me on social media. Again, Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. And that's that, guys. Thank you so much. This is your host, RJ Carbone, with episode 202 of the podcast, Knicks fall to OKC in Denver. Back out there tomorrow night, or as you're listening to this, probably back out there tonight against the Charlotte Hornets. Hopefully we can pick up a victory, and we'll go from there. Guys, thank you so much. That's all I've got for this one, and I'll see you when I see you. All right, ciao.
This podcast is sponsored by Anchor.